Hello again, everyone. How are you, Oriole fans? This is a great day. It's like a day of celebration, but it's a day of new beginnings as well, as our Oriole team organization is in the midst of a rebuild right now, and the man who is leading that rebuild is Oriole General Manager Mike Elias. Mike had a very, very important hire, the guy who'll be leading this team from the field, manager Brandon Hyde. You know, it's funny, we were talking at the back, we talked about the most, the biggest buzzword or the most commonly used word today was analytics. Analytics. And just to tell you how much of a thinker Mike Elias is, Mike Elias did some homework. What did you do in the back, Mike?
We Googled it.
You can Google that. Now, Mike, what did you come up with when you Googled it?
What do you want to know? I should get Sig up here to explain it, maybe, because I don't know. No, but it's information that is derived from the analysis of statistics.
So we already know that Mike Elias knows how to use his resources. Resource number one today was Google. That was resource number one. Welcome to Baltimore. I know you've heard that several times today.
Thank you.
This is my first time being able to tell you that.
Very much.
And listen, can I get personal for a minute or two? I don't know life without the Baltimore Orioles. I'm not just a broadcaster, and I hope that's not unprofessional. I don't know life without the Baltimore Orioles. I really don't remember life without the orange and black. I've always said the Ravens are a relative. The Orioles are a close family member. That's how it's always been for me. And the things that we've heard from you all since you took over and since you were hired, I hope I can speak for most Oriole fans here. I feel like we're headed in the right direction. I don't know where you're going to take us, but for some reason, as a fan and also as an employee, I feel like we're headed in the right direction.
Thanks. You know, I'm from the area, kind of, from Northern Virginia, and I came here a lot in the 90s, and so I have a full appreciation of what this fan base is like. So I knew that going in, but even without that, before taking this job, you know, when I was talking to managers that I know from around the league, you know, A.J. Hinch in Houston, everybody just said, man, that is such a cool place, and the fans in particular, they pointed out as a big advantage for this franchise. So to come to FanFest today and to walk across the street this morning and see the line going around, literally wrapping around this huge convention center, especially coming off the rough year that we had last year, it's just unbelievable, and it means so much to me. And your guys' support is going to be a big factor in the success we're going to have going forward. So please keep it up, and it's very much appreciated on our end.
Yeah, to echo what Mike said too, you know, I grew up an enormous baseball fan, and I grew up a kid that collected everybody's cards and had a Cal Ripken glove, and so to be able to have this opportunity, I'm fortunate to come. I just came from a real passionate fan base as well, and this is phenomenal, and we're overwhelmed by all of the positive comments and just everybody saying hello, and it feels like a great vibe and real positive, and this is really, really special, and we're happy and we're proud to be a part of it.
We're going to let you all ask some questions, and maybe we can answer them. You got the first question?
I had a question. You talk a lot about player development, and I wanted to ask about a young man my son actually played baseball with, was Brandon Klein, and I think Mr. Elias, you might have scouted him when he was in high school. And I'm just wondering where you see him with the organization.
Yeah, just saw Brandon last night at a dinner that we had, and it's kind of cool for me because, as you mentioned, he's from Frederick, and I saw him pitch in high school because I was the Cardinals area scout in this part of the country, and you know, he's had a great arm his whole life. went to UVA, had a good career there. And he's had some twists and turns in his career due to injury, but he's got big stuff. He's feeling good. He looks like he's in incredible shape, and I think we can expect some really good things from him. So can't wait to see him toe the rubber in Sarasota as well.
Questions for Brandon. A lot of us had such an affection for Buck. I got to go to playoff games at Camden Yards for the first time in my life. How do you go about replacing somebody that's been here for 10 years? And is that a relationship you want to create with the fans?
Yeah, absolutely. I have utmost respect for Buck Showalter and the coaching staff that was here. I know that a lot of really good things have happened here, especially in the past 10 years, and I really, really appreciate that and respect that a lot. My fan interaction and how the relationship I have with fans and media is really, really important to me. I have never sat in this seat, but I felt like I've been trained and watched some pretty good ones along the way. So that fan interaction, how we are perceived, not only locally but nationally, is really, really important to me and something that I'm going to really focus on.
But Brandon, you talked about the passion in Baltimore. That, as a manager, you have to feel good, the fact that you took over for a guy who was here for a decade, because that doesn't happen often in baseball.
No. It's a rotating seat sometimes. Why wouldn't you? This is what you want to do. If your goal is to become a big league manager, you want to have a passionate fan base from good times, bad times, whatever it be. I want people around me that care. I care. And so to have that type of, to have a coaching staff that really, really cares, to have players that are invested, to have a fan base that is going to follow us daily and it matters to them what we're doing. That's perfect.
You have your coaching staff announced for this year. I took notice it's no bench coach. With you being new to the organization and stuff, you plan on going without a bench coach, or like somebody like Ron Radicke with the Red Sox, or somebody that has experience? Do you think you're going to stay without a bench coach, or are you going to try to sign one?
Yeah, I think the way we see it is the coaching staff, it's a collaborative process. A lot of us have coached for a long time. We feel really good about the mix of the coaching staff. So Don Long, Doug Brocail, that's a lot of years coaching. Don's managed as well. Tim's run spring training for years. Tim's been a part of a lot of decision-making process in Chicago and Miami before that. So I think the way we're going to handle it from the dugout standpoint is that it's going to be a lot of communication. We're doing this together. I'm going to be relying on Tim a lot for pregame prep work, Doug and Don for pregame prep work, as well as in-game decision-making, but we're all going to be standing there together making the best decision we can.
My question has to do with the depth of the minor league system. I'm not going to ask you guys who you're going for on 1-1, but just out of curiosity, what positions do you think that we have depth at, and what positions do you think need to be addressed in this draft?
When I look at our minor league system, the thing that excites me probably the most is I think we've got some stud pitchers in that system, especially at the lower levels, but really up and down the minor league system. I feel pretty good about a number of the pitchers that we have. I think these are guys that not just have a chance to pitch in the big leagues, but possibly impact our rotation one day. So that's huge. That's not easy to come by, so we're going to keep developing them and keeping them healthy. In terms of the draft, we're not going to try to target any specific positional need. You don't really do that in the baseball draft. You just try to get the best talent that you can get your hands on. But I can promise you that over the years, as we add some things to our draft and scouting process, as we bring in a lot of the analytics that Sag and I have really developed together for the draft across the two different organizations that we work for, that the depth in our system will benefit greatly from the draft efforts, and you'll see the product of that in the next couple of years.
I think when people get scared of the word analytics, I think they believe that you're drafting players from a computer and not so much that analytics it aids what you see. Am I right about that? It kind of confirms what you're seeing. That's how you use analytics.
Well, in terms of the draft, for instance, these players, a lot of them play in college, and these colleges are big, and the baseball is pretty good in Division I college, and there is predictive ability in what you do as a college player towards what you're going to do as a pro player, proven predictive ability. And if we have a scientific way of bringing that into our draft process, we're going to use it. But it's also about taking the scouting information, their reports, and sort of filing it and organizing it in a smart way so that we're using it systematically rather than the scouting director sitting in the draft room and having to combine everything in his head.
The Orioles were once the envy of MLB with their pitching, and it's been a long time. Mike Mussina, you probably have to get back to Mike Mussina to be the last truly great starting pitcher we developed. And you just said that they have a lot of studs in there. Where is the development needed the most to get these guys to reach their potential, which hasn't happened since Mike Mussina?
Well, a lot's changed about pitching development in recent years. There's an explosion of the use of technology, both in terms of biomechanics, but also pitch development. We've got these radar devices now that can tell you about the spin and the shape of every pitch that you throw. And we're going to use that in a very good way to improve our pitcher development. It's something that we excelled at in Houston. I think if we can even replicate a portion of that success here, we're going to be in much better shape. And we have our new pitching coordinator from the Houston Astros and a lot of good pitching coaches here in the system already. So I'm excited to get that going. It'll take a little bit of time to get into place, but it's going to be huge.
Question in the back here.
My question is for Mike. Mike, as you're well aware of, the Astros, I think it was, 2013 lost, 111? And we were a little worse, losing 115 last year. How does this rebuild compare to Houston's rebuild?
We'll see. We're going to do everything we can to avoid that happening. But the most important thing for me and for Brandon is we need to concentrate on raising the level of talent in this organization any way we can. So we need to coach up the players that are already here at the major league level and in the minor league level, do a great job of developing them. My staff needs to add talent via the international and amateur draft markets, from the waiver wire, from every angle that we can. And we just want to see the talent base in this organization start moving up and going in the right direction. So I think the similarities are that. I think the Cubs and the Astros did a great job of staying focused on that and understanding that there's some scrapes and bruises in the process along the way, but not deviating or panicking because that doesn't work.
Jason Hayward called a players-only meeting during the World Series. How will you feel if Chris Davis calls a players-only meeting and none of you or your coaches can attend it?
I think it's fantastic. That won us the World Series, that players-only meeting. I think players holding players accountable is what you strive for as a coach. You want your guys to care about each other, and that's what Jay Hay does. He cared about that meeting was about the journey that we had been on, and not letting a moment that happened, or the Davis home run, affect what we've been setting out to do since February. And that's going to go down in Chicago history as one of the best meetings of all time, and it came from a player. So anytime players get involved with each other and hold each other accountable and are responsible for their own actions and can rally each other, I think that's what your goal is as a coach.
How often do those occur, though, players-only meetings? You don't want too many throughout the course of the year.
Usually meetings are when things aren't going well, so no, you don't want too many going on. But yeah, I mean they happen on occasion. I think every team's different. We weren't a meetings team in Chicago, so we didn't have a ton. But I think when there's something to be said, there's the right time and place, and if you have if you have the right leadership from the player side, with solid veteran, things that young guys need to hear, or just maybe the whole room needs to hear. I think that comes throughout, certain times throughout the season.
If you see a guy you think has exceptional talent, I think you got a 6-year window or something, and you can control the people. But after about 2 or 3 years, if you see an exceptional talent, is it your desire to try to lock the guy up long term? I hope so.
It's absolutely our desire, and it's tough. It takes the other side wanting to agree, and exceptional talents get paid exceptionally on the free agent market. And as you stated, there's other teams vying for their services, and it's difficult. So we're going to try to do it when it makes sense to do it. But to me, it all starts with the pipeline, because when you have that pipeline that is feeding players that can step in, if you do lose a guy, you're less apt to make a terrible decision and overcommit or overspend or overextend to retain somebody that maybe you shouldn't have, and you get yourself in a situation as an organization where then you can't retain the next guy. So if we can establish a good pipeline coming up through the minor leagues and feeding the type of talent that you're talking about, that's step one. And I look forward to worrying about keeping these star players that we develop later, and we're going to try. But it's difficult in today's baseball economic environment.
Statistical analysis has been around since the beginning of the game. John McGraw, when he was the player manager here, was one of the first to use shifts. And by the way, he's buried here. You might want to go and consult with him. Might be a good idea. But this is for both of you. The use of relief pitchers at the beginning of games and multiple pitchers coming in very quickly, that places a tremendous strain on the hitters and on the ability to staff a 25-man roster. How are you gentlemen going to take care of that?
Wow.
Yeah. Yes.
Where's John McGraw buried? I didn't know that. Oh, cool. Very cool. I don't know if you want to add anything there, but yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, that was kind of a phenomenon that happened mainly last couple of years. In the National League, we didn't see it much the way that Tampa ran their bullpen. I think that it's really team specific in what you have. You have to have, the bottom line is you want to keep your pitchers healthy throughout the course of the year. And if you're rolling out relievers consistently with only a 13-man pitching staff, you're potentially putting a lot of stress. So you have to have a lot of guys with a lot of options. You have to have a shuttle service going back and forth between AAA. There's a lot of different things. Understanding that when you're facing a team that's primarily right-handed and you want to start Sergio Romo against them, that makes sense if you have the personnel to do it. So Tampa last year had the personnel to do it. With Chicago, we had five legit starters. So that wasn't we didn't need to do that. We had five guys that could go deep into games and a pretty good bullpen. So I think it's really what your staff looks like, but I give them a ton of credit for being creative and taking a chance and seeing what it looked like, and obviously they had a lot of success. So I think there's going to be some other teams that are going to be creative in that way this year.
My question is for Mike Elias. Is there any chance Adam Jones is going to be back in an Oriole uniform next year? This upcoming season?
I get that question a lot, and it's because he was so important here, not just to the baseball team, but to the community. It's something that I heard a lot about even prior to coming to the Orioles organization. It's just well known around baseball that Adam was great for this franchise on and off the field. And now that I'm here, I appreciate it even more because I hear from people that have been around. There's a free agent market going on right now. I really can't comment on specific players that are on that market. It's just not what we do in our business. But we're monitoring everything. We'll see what happens. But certainly, no matter what happens, the work that he did here was so appreciated by everyone, you guys, the organization, and he would always be welcome and always be an Oriole. So we'll see what happens this winter, but he's a great player here, and I'm sure you guys all recognize that already.
Welcome to the organization. Knowing you're new to the organization, what does the Oriole way mean to you, and kind of what's the main thing you want to change to get us back to the Oriole way?
That's a great question. I think what we're going to bring is a fresh ideas, some fresh ideas, and how we go about things. Obviously the front office, the Mike and Sig have come in with their ideas from Houston, and we have a whole new coaching staff. So building the identity that in spring training of how we're going to play, the culture we're going to bring. We've both come from great culture, clubhouse culture. So understanding like how much that matters and the positive environment and the great workplace that we're gonna bring to here to Baltimore, and I think the players are going to feed off of that. It sounds like the buzz is already kind of starting throughout the team, and going down to Sarasota, there's a lot of excitement with our guys, and I feel great about the coaching staff that's put in place. So I think that we're, the identity is going to be built in spring training, and we're going to continue to press forward every single day, and just looking forward to competing.
Brandon, you talking about a buzz. Earlier, Mike said he was excited to see so many fans lined up around the Baltimore Convention Center, but I hear there's so many players from the 40-man roster who are actually in town now. How does that make you feel to be the manager of that team that's coming off such a bad year?
No, I think it's phenomenal. It's a great group of guys, and like I've talked to a lot of them on the phone, like I've talked about a lot, and meeting them in person in Sarasota, and then last night. It's a hungry group, and I felt that when I called them. Baseball's it's a small industry in that we kind of know each other. So, I'm sure as I got this job, they got on the phone with people that knew me, that I had coached, or guys I've been around. So they already kind of knew about me going in, and listening to their voices and seeing them last night, there's a great energy about our team right now, and I'm looking forward to diving into it in 2 weeks.
I know you did your homework before the Rule 5 draft, but I was wondering what you saw in Martin and Jackson to take them. And with the amateur draft coming up, how do you analyze high school talent?
So Rule 5, we took Richie Martin with the number 1 pick of the Rule 5 draft, and what that means for the fans that haven't studied the Rule 5 draft is we get to take a player from another organization, but we have to keep him on our 25-man roster all year. Otherwise, you have to send him back. So that's not easy to do sometimes with a player from the minor leagues. But with Richie, we thought it was a good combination of talent and upside, but also possibly having a chance of keeping him. And the reason is he's a shortstop. We need some middle infield help. We think we're going to have some playing time available there. So we'll bring him into spring training and get a good look at him up close and let him compete. Same with Drew Jackson. Drew Jackson's an athletic guy, can play multiple positions, can play a little shortstop, so fits some needs for us. So I think there's a really solid chance that these guys can actually stick, and looking forward to seeing them compete for spots in Florida. High school guys in the draft, you said? You rely more on your scouts. There's some information, objective information with high school players that we utilize. I don't like to talk about it publicly, but we do have some stuff that we use. But it's a scouting endeavor first and foremost, and especially when you talk about high school and international players. It's about your scouting.
So we're obviously in a rebuilding stage right now. Do you think you're going to get more? Do you think you're going to give more time for players in the minor leagues to bring them up to the major leagues to give them more playing time and experiment with it more?
Well, we're going to make the best decisions for their developmental path. So if they would benefit from additional time in the minor leagues, or maybe they're working on something in particular, like a swing change or a position change, you don't really want them doing that at the major league level. So if it's in their best interest, that's what we're going to do. We're not going to rush anything or rush anybody to the major league level if they might benefit from some additional development time. So that's really going to be the criteria that we're going to use to make those type of decisions.
With the glut of free agents that are out there right now, you see Harper, Machado still unsigned. What role do you think analytics is playing in all this? And do you think long-term this is something that the Orioles could benefit from based on lesser demand for free agents?
Yeah, the market's been slow this year and last year. I don't really have an answer for why that's the case. I know that a lot of people are talking about it and sort of looking at it. I don't know that the growth and the use of analytics is feeding that. But if we can go off last year as a guide, I think that 2 weeks from now, all these guys are going to be signed and they're going to be out there playing, because that's what happens. This is kind of a deadline-oriented industry. We have trading deadlines. We have signing deadlines. and a lot of stuff tends to happen right before the deadline. So I just think that's another thing that's happened in the free agent market. Would we like to see it change? Probably, but I don't know how that would happen, and I think there's other people than me working on it.
Also, my guess with Machado and Harper would be the delay would be more financially driven than analytics right now. The particulars of the contract. I would think that was holding them up more than analytics, because you know who these guys are. They're pretty decent analytical players. But when you talk about 7 to 10 year contracts, upwards of over $30 million a year, I think that's probably the biggest holdup with them. Not to say that you're in the market for either one of them.
It's a big decision for whoever's doing it, so I guess they're taking their time.
I can't even imagine writing that check.
I have a question to echo what one of the other fans said. Nick Markakis was just re-signed by the Atlanta Braves as a strong veteran presence in a very young clubhouse. Why? And that was this week. Why can't we make efforts to get Adam Jones signed next week?
Thanks. There's only so much I can say about specific free agents. It's just the way it is in the business. We're actually told not to discuss specific free agents because that can have effects on the marketplace. And so whether or not their efforts are going on any player, it's not really something that I can comment on, except for to broadly say that we're doing our job as a front office, monitoring every available opportunity to bring talent into this organization that makes sense for the strategic goals that we have. And one thing to keep in mind, I was just talking about this on the radio, is big part of our strategic goal is we've got young players here that we need to give opportunities to, and they need to continue to develop. And we got to be careful not to block some of these guys and have a young player that we have under control, that we like, sitting on the bench, not getting at bats in his age 24, age 25, age 26 season, and we never found out what we had on our hands. So we're going to have to be a little bit careful about that. And it was, I think it was an important part of the process that Houston went through, that they were able to explore some guys like Dallas Keuchel, and you find out that you had something on your hands all along.
We have one more question in the back.
Gentlemen, welcome to Baltimore, season ticket holder since 1997. My favorite acquisition at the deadline last season was Jonathan VR. I love his game, and I'm hoping that you guys, as time goes on, will be able to bring in more players like that who aren't 3 true outcome guys that I'm snoozing through their at-bats, but guys who will get on base, take the base, put pressure on the defense, pressure on the opposition pitcher, and I'm hoping that that's a direction that you guys are considering and will go in the future. Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. I saw VR play for a few years in the same division right up the road, and 19 times a year, and he killed us. So I saw him last night and told him how happy I was to be wearing the same uniform as him, because he's so dynamic, could do so many different things with a switch hit, the run tool. He beat us with some opposite field home runs, defensively. So, yeah, I think you're dead on right. And to get a guy that athletic with that skill set, the more guys we can get like that are multiple position guys that can do a little bit of everything, take a good at bat, draw a walk, steal a base, play multiple spots. I think we're going in the right direction for sure.
The leaders of our Baltimore Orioles, General Manager Mike Elias, Skipper Brandon Hyde. Thank you very much, gentlemen.